Well, hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Happy Wednesday. That means it's time for our weekly live. Dave is not here with us today. He is out and about. He's actually in Florida. He did his Tough Mudder last weekend, and he's also just hanging out doing a lot of fun stuff. So I am solo today. Whether that's good or bad, we don't know yet. We will see. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Really do appreciate you. As always, a couple of house cleaning things before we start getting into questions. And please start asking those questions now. I'm going to try to manage as much as I possibly can. I did all right on Saturday, but it's hard not having Dave here to kind of help bounce things off. So we'll do the best that we can, but I hope you guys are ready to learn something hopefully new today. All right, first things first, as we have mentioned before, every single live stream that we're doing in the month of November, all of the proceeds are going to our good friend Will, to the stars. You might see him in the chat here. He has a wonderful charity called the Children's Army, and here's the website here down below. So if you donate either there directly or here on our live stream, 100% of the proceeds go to him. And we will also be matching that with any ad revenue that we generate from any live stream that we do, including live streams at the casino that we're going to have next week. We will be donating to his charity as well. So all month of November, we like to give back, and we have chosen his charity to do so. So if you have it in your heart to give anything, we really would appreciate it, and I know will as well. Will as well. All right, thank you so much, Will, for putting that together. Really do appreciate you. We'll mention it a couple times during the stream tonight. And all right, so I've got a question for you guys to kind of get things going a little bit, and that is, what is the craziest myth that you've ever heard or ever seen before? Well, so let's get some creative ones in there, and if I end up seeing one I haven't seen before or one that's kind of interesting, I'll put it up on the screen, and we can all talk about that. So, all right, so let's see, other house cleaning things. So Dave and I will be in Las Vegas next week. We are leaving late Wednesday night, and we will probably do our weekly live from Vegas on Wednesday night. It's going to be late. Probably, if I were to guess, probably around 9 p.m. or so Pacific time. So you poor guys on the East Coast might have to watch it a little bit later, but we will do that next Wednesday because we will be in the plane during our normal scheduled time. And let's see. The next thing is we will be there all the way through Sunday. We're going to be very busy, but if we have a chance to, if we think there's enough people there, we'll try to do some kind of meetup real quick or something like that. But no plans for any kind of official meetup. We're actually there on official business this time. There's several things that we need to accomplish while we're there. So we just want to give you a heads up in case you're around. You may see us. We'll be staying in New York. So you'll probably either find us there or Park MGM. Probably the best bet. All right, guys. So let's start getting into some questions. I already see some good ones going on here. Let's see. SoCal Slots, good to see you in here. Make sure you check out their channel as well. My question is, are there signs and patterns the machine gives to know the big one is coming? Very good question. The answer is no. I know it's hard to believe, especially when you hear other YouTubers and you may have read books or pamphlets or something to the contrary, right? But there is this thing about slot machines that's very serious, and that is, before a machine can enter any kind of licensed casino floor, it is rigorously tested by not only the manufacturer, but a third-party entity to ensure that there is no predictability in that machine. Meaning that there is no way for anybody, you, the casino, slot attendants, the manufacturers, even anybody on the inside that built the game, they do not know what's going to come next whenever you press that spin button, okay? It has to be true and random, and that's just how they work. So there's nothing that you can do to game the system. And just consider this for a second. Let's say that they let something like that slip through. How long do you think they would allow something like that to occur before they replaced it or updated it or something? They spend so much time, and this is why even when a game is ready to go, let's say that IGT created a game and they're ready to put it on the casino floor, it takes months and months and months of audits and checks and all of this kind of stuff, not just from them, but like I said, third-party entities are involved too, to ensure that it will operate in a random fashion when it hits that casino floor. It's very important that everybody has a fair chance at that machine. Sometimes you're just not lucky, and sometimes you are lucky, but there's nothing that you can look for to say the big one's about to hit. There are very small exceptions, okay, like some of the advantage play machines, like the must-hit by progressives and stuff. Those you can kind of get better odds along the way if you are keen to what that advantage play is, like such a must-hit by progressive that's very close to that must-win by number. Then there are some advantages, but 95% of the machines out there, you know, there's nothing that you can tell that something's coming. There's my long answer. That's the problem with Dave not being here, is I'll talk forever. All right. Carla Warner says, when you hit on a machine, does the machine's computer reset its lucky number for a major jackpot? No, nothing you can do. You cannot manipulate the game into giving you anything. All you're going to do by hitting the machine is risk breaking it and getting a bill from the casino to pay for what you just did. So, all right. Holy crap! Lots of comments. Let me go back and look. And Lost in Carolina says, have you ever played the triple double action quick hits, 9-line, 25-cent progressive? If 3 quick hits in the first column, it will nudge up to 7 times to get the progressive play. I haven't played it yet. This one's relatively new. It came out in like the last 3 or 4 months. It looks very exciting. It looks like something that I would play. I'm hoping to maybe see that in the casinos when we're there next week. But it does look like a fun game. And I love the anticipation that it has with the slow moving of the reel to land those quick hits. Nice. Let's see. Proud Monkey. Dave's not here. Guess I'll watch Titanic. Always a joker. I don't have my Rolling Rock today, Penny Pinching. I'm out still. And Mike V says, what are your big travel plans for 225? We don't know, just somewhere different. We're definitely going to be on the East Coast. Absolutely. We don't know exactly what month, but probably around April or May timeframe we're going to be out there. That is absolutely going to occur next year. As for that, we're going to try to get to some new places. We got some things that we're already working on with a couple of vendors that might get us out to places that we wouldn't normally go. So we'll see. But our plans are to try to get out there a little bit more. Vegas and Wendover, Vegas and WinStar, kind of getting repetitive, right? So we want to meet you guys. All right. Let's see. And guys, it'll take me a little while because I'm scrolling through. Usually the way we do this is while one of us is talking, the other is looking for questions to star for us to get to. But I can't do that tonight. I got to just look and see what's there. All right. Lenny D says, what are your favorite must-plays at Aria? I'll be there in a few days. Man, Aria's taken a lot of my machines out of there, unfortunately. It used to always be the 5-line top dollar, but there's only one left, and it's in the high-limit room. Your next best bet is by the entrance, where the hotel entrance is. There's 2 banks of machines there that I like. There is the 5-reel 9-line top dollar in quarters, I believe. So bet 9 quarters, essentially. And then there's also a bank of machines that are quarters that are 5-line with the free game bonuses. Those are very good, too. I like playing those. You can last a long time. There's some quarter Wheel of Fortunes there that I kind of, they're not the best, but I still play them anyway because I have a soft spot for Wheel of Fortune, especially the gold spin version. Those are kind of the best, in my opinion. Aria is just, oh man. Oh, and one other, Cash Wheel, which is down towards the parking garage exit. So if you're going down that way, it's all the way on the corner where the bathrooms are. There's a bank of cash wheels there. Those are fun to play too. Those progressives are getting pretty high. Somebody's got to hit them at some point. But that's pretty much it for Aria. They've taken a lot of my favorites out of there, unfortunately, so I don't really go there as much as I used to. But good luck out there. Still a beautiful casino. Yeah, see, here's some of the comments here. Slot machines at the entrance pay better. I've heard that. Definitely heard that. And SoCal slots at the major shows a near miss. It's coming. Yeah. These are false, guys. Waving your hand over the screen to clear the mojo. Hey, that works. That's not a myth. Just kidding. Yeah. Oh, this one, Janet. The machine needs to be fed in order to hit. That is probably the number one thing. I know I say that for a lot of things, but that is, That's up there with the things that people believe that are completely false. Guys, machines are not due. Just because you put a bunch of money into it and you didn't hit crap doesn't mean that it's due to hit anytime. It does not cycle through that way. It doesn't actively balance. Like there's not a scale like this that, oh man, lots of losing spins. That means the jackpot's coming. It's coming. They just got to keep putting more money in and then boom, it balances itself out. That is not how slot machines work, guys. I know a lot of you will never believe me. And believe me, we get lit up in the comments all the time about this, but that is the truth. It is the absolute 100% truth. They do not actively balance. They do not change their programming based on what has happened in the past or to stay in balance. It doesn't need to. It's just a probability program. It's going to work its way out naturally over time. It just will. But yeah, that's a good one because a lot of people, and I think that's the most dangerous one too, because just think about what people do financially when they're on a machine and it's just not paying and they feel like it has to, right? It has to at some point. So let me just keep putting money into and it's eventually going to pay me off, right? It has to. It has to stay in balance. Otherwise the casino gets in trouble, gets fined, you hear all this stuff. It's not true. Guys, learn when to walk away. The machine is not going to give you back your money because you put a bunch into it. It can keep taking and keep taking. Sometimes you get lucky, but it can be on the take for a while. It's all random. Majestic Slot says tapping the devil makes him pay more. Yeah, we're talking about myths here, guys. And Uncle Crackle's slots by the bathroom pay better. Yeah, see, these are some old ones too. Like these have been around for a while. And oh, here's a good one. Deviator, my coworker won't use a Players Cup card. I hope your coworker's watching. Bro, use your Players card. I'm sorry, Brodette. She thinks they are tracking her wins. They will make the machine stop paying. Yeah. The systems are completely separate. They couldn't, again, to be classified as a slot machine, there can be no, listen to this, guys. This kind of sums everything up. In order to be classified as a slot machine, there can be no outside influence on the random number generator, okay? Player's card, slapping the button, kissing the machine, doing this kind of mojo stuff, waiting until 5 in the morning, waiting until after a big hit, waiting until nobody hits. Nothing can outside influence that random number generator, okay? So all this coworker is doing is losing on comps. That's it. It doesn't make any difference. And this is like what we talked about in a video I posted last week where people insist, well, I know that's not true because I use my player's card, I get nothing. As soon as I take my player's card out, I start getting bonus rounds and progressives and wins. That's got to be it. Too small of a sample size. Do that another 100,000, 10,000 times and see what the results are. You're not going to find anything. It's going to be no patterns whatsoever. Let's see. We're not attending the race, Peyton. We'll be there Thursday through Sunday. God, I hope the race isn't during then. Is it really during that time we're there? Yikes. We screwed that up. Dwayne asked a good question. How does the hold and spin actually work? I have a video coming about this very soon. I'm just going to save it for that because it's a long explanation, but it's not what you think. A lot of people have it wrong. But I do have a video coming very soon. And just looking at some of these other myths in here. And Robin, just having fun, says, is it true that with hot pots, if you don't see the ball in the square needed that fills the grand, you won't get it? No, not necessarily. It's just, this is kind of true for hot pots or anyone that you have to collect that 15th square to get the grand. The thing is that it looks very empty because the virtual reel, which is like, imagine a reel strip, right? Normal reel strip has 22 spots on it. But imagine a virtual reel that has 10,000 spots on it, right? There may only be one spot in that virtual reel that has that orb that will land that grand or that 15th. And so depending on where it's cycling through that virtual reel, you may not see it in that square, or you may see it in that square. But the end result is, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get it. It's just, it's highly unlikely. It's very difficult to get that last one. And that's because it's weighted that way, right? It's not equal for every single square on there. They can't make it unweighted to get the grand. Otherwise, they'd just be paying the grand out way too much, right? And that would throw off the payback percentage. And Paul Keller says, are there certain times to avoid a casino? Yeah, if you don't like crowds or you don't like smoke or whatever, but it has nothing to do with the payouts, right? There's no right time of day to go to a casino to increase your chances of winning. Go when you know your machine's going to be available to play, that you're not going to have to deal with crowds or whatever your flavor is. A lot of people like crowds. A lot of people smoke. That's okay. Go when it's most comfortable for you and you're having a good time. That's the answer to that question. But no, they don't. Slots don't pay on a schedule, guys. They don't go up and down. They don't pay early because nobody's playing overnight, so they try to give people more. That's all BS. It's all BS. There's no time of day, to beat the machines. If that makes sense. Christelle says, Mark, did you take the spam challenge? I think I forgot about that. Didn't Brantley do that? I still haven't had spam. I've never had it in my entire life. At least not that I remember. After seeing Brantley's reaction on Cowboy Slots, not sure I would either. I'm glad he did it first. Yeah, Jilly Pepper says, myth I've seen, betting low while holding down the max bet button to fool the machine into paying better. Pretty sure it doesn't work that way. Yeah, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. I've got a funny story too, real quick, that it kind of cracked me up because there's this guy. I haven't seen him in a while, but he was always hanging around the MGM properties, especially around people that played top dollar. And he would always come up to me, and a lot of other people too. I think Sheldon over at Let's Go Handpay ran into this guy once too. And he said, hey, I know the secrets to top dollar. And of course I keep quiet. Like I'm a self-proclaimed top dollar nerd. I know exactly how the math is programmed and how it works, everything like that. And I'm like, oh really? Oh, that's interesting. And of course he was wrong. He had no idea. Like he was trying to say, oh, the third offer is always the best. Or after he gives you a crappy offer, you should keep passing it up till the end. Like he was telling me all this stuff, and it was completely false. And he was so sure because he wrote the code for top dollar. But the funny thing is I personally know the guy that wrote the code for top dollar, and he isn't it. So, I'm like, yeah, okay, guy. And he was always doing that to me and to other people. I never did call him out or anything like that. I was just like, go away. He just wants people to play. I don't know what his deal is. And you should always be cautious of people that approach you like that. Everybody has a story. I mean, I've heard it all when you're sitting there playing a game and everybody's like, hey, I wouldn't play that if I were you. Somebody won 20 grand on that earlier. Makes no difference. That's what you tell them. Makes no difference. Oh, pinball games always play better in the morning. Nope. No, they don't. I know better. So, let's see. Majestic Slot says, on cruise ships, there's a lack of 25-cent denom machines. Would you say $1 5-line pink diamond is better selection than $1 5-line Wheel of Fortune triple star gold? Yeah, definitely. I would definitely play the 5-line pink diamonds. Which ship are you on? The one that we were on had a lot of quarter machines, especially, it was all along the back. I can't remember the name of the ship now. It was Royal Caribbean, I don't remember, Harmony of the Seas, I think that's what it was. They had a bunch of low volatility quarter 5-line machines all in the back. Great choices too. But yeah, I would stay away from any Wheel of Fortune is already low in payback percentage, but I think on a cruise ship it's probably even worse. So I would stay away from those. Definitely. Let's see. This is a loaded question. Are online slots manipulated, even if they claim to have their RTP and RNG audited? Because aren't they just, they could just fake their logs. So you got to you got to factor in what is considered a licensed online slot machine. Okay, there's not very many, right? There's BetMGM, there's FanDuel, there's Caesars Online, and they're only available in a handful of states, guys. Everything else kind of falls into the whole sweepstakes social casinos bucket. They are most likely audited. They are most likely, um, have compliance, but it's not based in the U.S. And that just that just causes me some pause, right? We don't recommend playing those just because of that reason alone. Yes, people have won money on them. People have done well. That's fine. But it makes me feel uneasy to be giving, number one, my deposit and checking credit card information to somebody overseas. You don't really know what their legal coverage is over there compared to here in the United States. And I would only play online slots if it was, an established business like MGM, Caesars, etc. But even that being considered, let's say that they opened that up in Texas, I would still not play online slots because I think it's too easy to become addicted. You're at home, you can play whenever you want. I call it toilet blackjack. You're sitting on the toilet and you're playing blackjack for money. Not good, not good. You should go for the experience like that. You should go, bring your money, go to the casino, enjoy the night, come back, think about something else than gambling. So that's just my personal opinion on all that stuff. Whether they fake logs or not, we have no idea. All right, Ally says, are the rules different for reservation casinos? Not at all. They're exactly the same. In fact, they're sometimes even more strict because not only do the tribe itself put together rules and regulations, but they still have to abide by the state that they're licensed in. So they may have rules and regulations on top of it. But any licensed reservation casino, it's the same process, okay? And I've seen it. I've witnessed it from several tribal casinos. It's the exact same process that you would see in a Las Vegas casino when it comes to auditing the machines, setting them up, managing payback percentages, all that kind of stuff. The rules are the same across the board. There's a lot of oversight in this area. They can't have any kind of nefarious stuff going on because they could lose their license easily. And so you should feel comfortable playing at any reservation casino. As long as it has what you want and you enjoy it, I'd say go for it. We've actually won more at reservation casinos than we've ever won in Vegas, so there, you got to consider that sometimes. All right. Let's see what else we got. I'm like 10 minutes behind, guys, so hang with me here. Lucky Jules would love to have you two back in Wendover. Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's so early. We don't know what 2025 is. The one thing that you guys have to realize, and we've said this before, is that both of us have full-time jobs, right? And so we have limited vacation time. We both work in IT, which means even if we do have vacation time, we're always on call. So we have to be very aware of that. And this is not our full-time gig. It's not going to be for a long time. It doesn't pay that much, guys. So we have to kind of plan things around very short weekend trips for the most part. And so we're going to do our best. We will do our best, but we have, like I said, limited vacation time. It really hinders what we're able to do. So Simon S. will be back in Louisiana. I'm sure it's a lot easier to drive down to Louisiana than it is to fly to the Northeast, for example, or even Washington State. A lot of people want us to go to Washington State. That's one that we will take time off for because, All right. All right, Lockwood Larson, what machines do you like at New York, New York? New York has a good selection, actually. I like the Thunder Cash that is in the high limit room. It's dollars, but I bet $5 on it. I've done well on that one. Top Dollar Grand is there, although that one starts at $1. I do prefer the one over at Park MGM because it starts at $0.25. Those MGM, I can't remember what they're called. MGM Riches, I think. Those machines are cool. Those are fun to play also. They start at quarter. They're kind of all, everything that we play at New York is like right outside of the high limit room area. And then there's also some quarters that are closer to where the elevators are going up that you can play. But there's a lot. Make sure you walk around New York because it's really congested in certain areas and you can't really see where all the cool games are. But those are the ones that we play, and we play a lot. All right. Ellie says ice cream break. I like what you're saying. Double Diamond says, I got to play Double Top Dollar. I see why you like that game. Man, once you start playing it, it's very addicting. It's a good game. It's a good game. It's a lot of fun. Let's see. Yeah, here's another one. A myth: they pay more when the gaming commission is on site. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, Proud Monkey says not naming names, but some of these channels that will play huge amounts, be way down, and at the end hit huge and break even makes people think that they keep playing, they will win. Yeah, you got to be careful with that, right? They have the bankrolls to withstand the swings of especially the games that they typically play, which are higher in volatility. Um, Listen, if you have a huge bankroll and you're willing to play it, high volatility is kind of the way to go because you have a big enough stack of cash that you can withstand the gradual burn in exchange for the big surge up, which, like Proud Monkey is saying, can happen at the very end or maybe sometimes lucky at the very beginning. But either way, you got to be careful not to emulate that unless you have the bankroll to withstand it, right? And that's why we don't bet like that, and that's why we don't typically play those games unless we are up, because it's a slippery slope with those high volatility games. You have to have high bankrolls, and you got to be willing to walk away and not chase it. And those games are designed for you to chase. The almost hits, the five hats, getting the five hats on Huff and Puff, the five orbs or balls in Lightning Link, Fire Link, Dragon Cash, Dragon Link, all those. It's there to get you to keep playing, and that's what you have to be strong enough to walk away with. So, yeah, always play within your means, and don't try to emulate those big bettors because they have the bankrolls to do that. All right. Yeah, hey, Helen. I've heard this too. So, I was complaining to a slot manager after a pandemic that machines were not paying out like pre-pandemic, and he said the machines need to be played. Listen, it's not true, right? It doesn't make any difference if the machines are played or not. They're not going to change their programming, right? Um, my host tells me this. Oh man, you're going to love it this weekend. We just had a huge crowd in here. They put a ton of money in these machines. They're ready to pay out. False. Completely false, right? I used to believe it. But it's completely false. It doesn't matter what state the game is in, whether it's not been played or been played, doesn't matter. Doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So even the people that work inside the casino don't even know what it is or how slot machines work. And Jackie Johnson says, how come I can go on a Saturday and all the jackpots have gone off? There's nothing to that. I mean, number one, there's no possible way that you know all the jackpots that are going off in the casino. I mean, you don't have that kind of visual, ability to look at all that stuff. But second, there's just nothing to that. But you can see swings, right? You can see periods of hot and cold on a slot machine, but it's not programmatically doing that. Casinos cannot programmatically say, stop paying jackpots today on Saturday, or we need to limit the number of jackpots because we've paid out too much this month. They cannot do any of that stuff. It's not allowed. It's not allowed in any licensed casino. So it's a feeling. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Sometimes you go, listen, when Dave and I go to Vegas, we play the same machines, the same casinos over and over and over again. And sometimes we win, Sometimes we don't, but we don't blame it on the casino because the casino didn't do anything to that machine. They didn't change the payback percentage. They didn't have a magic setting or flip of the switch in the back or anything like that. Nothing like that was going on. We just were unlucky that trip, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. All right. All right, let me catch up to where we are kind of currently. There's so much. Guys, you chatted are awesome today. Thank you so much. Lockwood, this is a good question. We haven't had a question like this before. What's the average life of a cabinet? What's the oldest game you have played? Oh, man. I would have to say that the average lifespan of a cabinet is getting smaller and smaller, especially game themes, right? They're trying a lot. This is why you see so many new games all the time. Back in the day, it was pretty stagnant. Like they were all the old school machines with the handle. They were called the S2000s, Bally's, S9000s. These are the old school games, right? And they were pretty stagnant, right? They all kind of looked the same. You'd have triple diamond and then you'd have triple dollars. They just kind of changed the paint a little bit. But now they're trying everything. I mean, complete overhaul of game mechanics, game visuals, game design, all that kind of stuff. And it's a faster churn. I could not even tell you what the average lifespan of it is anymore. It's so quick. It's a lot quicker than it used to be. Oldest game I have played probably have to be the original Top Dollar that still took coins. You couldn't even use a player's card because this was before players tracking. And that was at Club 93 Casino in Jackpot, Nevada. That's probably the oldest one that I've played that I can remember. All right, let's see. Dave Lewis, Megabucks, how does a progressive really work? So think of it as winning the lottery. Okay, there is a very specific set of RNG pulls for each reel that will land the Megabucks, but it is excruciatingly hard to get. I don't even know what the odds are, but they're astronomical, right? That's why people don't win it all that often. It's technically the most volatile game that exists because of that huge amount, right? But that's kind of an edge case, and that's how they consider it. That's why the base games are always still playable, right? You can still get wins on Megabucks by playing the base game. They don't factor in that $10 million or $15 million into the payback percentage because it's just an edge case, right? Because that would throw everything off. So it's a little bit different, but it's just a random number pool. You just got to be lucky and press that button and get the right combination. Just like winning the lottery, picking the right numbers, exactly the same. Let's see. And Midlife Crisis Casino says, I've been playing more volatile slots a lot more. My feeling is that the game is constantly working its RTP. There will be times I hit a decent bonus and then the next two are terrible thoughts. I mean, there's no such thing as working its return to player. It's just probabilities, right? That's what's playing out. And the thing is with higher volatility games is that the probabilities are more severe. And what I mean by that is that you can have a lot of dead spins or terrible bonus rounds. And basically what it's doing is in order to get the RTP where it's doing is it goes through cycles of dead and low spins in order to save up for that big one. But it's not like doing that because you've had a bunch of bonus rounds. That's what I'm trying to say. Just because you've had 2-3 crummy bonus rounds doesn't mean a big one is coming. The next 3 could be crummy too. And it could stay like that for a long time, but it's all about probabilities, right? Eventually, after 10 million pulls or so, it will eventually work its way out to the RTP naturally. So if you want to play high volatility, that's great. I have no problems with that. You heard what I said earlier about it. Just make sure you don't chase. Don't think that you've had crummy bonus rounds and low line pays that a big one is coming. that it's just around the corner. That's the trap, right? That's what you got to try to avoid. So good luck out there. Keep playing them. It's fine, no problem. But just try not to be a victim of the chase where you're just, it's got to come, right? It's got to come. I've had crummy bonus rounds, 3 in a row. The next one's got to be huge, right? It could be, but it could also not be, right? Okay. All right. Jim, it's actually much worse than winning the Powerball. It is actually much worse. You're better off playing Powerball than trying to hit megabucks. So there you go. I don't know what the actual number is, but that's what I've been told, is that you could actually win the Powerball several times before you hit megabucks. But it's fun to dream, right? All right. Fred Poppet says, when you pick an icon playing a, but this is a good question. When you pick an icon playing a bonus, is it predetermined or can you really influence the result? So there's 2 types, some that are predetermined and some that aren't. So the general way to know, it's not true for all games, but it's probably 90%, is that after you get through picking, let's say you have to match 3, right? If it flips everything over and shows you where everything was, it was not predetermined. You were in control of the picking, okay? But if it doesn't, Dancing Drum's a good example of this, where it just, you pick it and it's the mini. But I had 2 grands, I was so close. It was already predetermined to give you the mini. It doesn't matter what you pick. And you'll see that. If you play those games and you see that it does not reveal where everything else was after you've made the matches, then it was most likely predetermined. A very good question. And Gary Slots and Travel says, the best way to walk away with a hand-paid jackpot is to ask for a check for your winnings, I have found. That's very smart. That's gambling smart for sure. There are some rules. Some casinos, it has to be a certain amount. Some only let you do 1 check per visit, things like that. So just be aware of that. Some don't do checks at all. But it's a good way, especially if you hit a big one, it's a good way to secure that money because they cannot cash that check. So you got to walk away with that check. It's a good way to do it. And it's a little safer too, right? Instead of having like wads of cash in your room, that kind of thing. All right, let's see. Ted N says, Mark, when you were on a cruise, what slots did you play? So I played, it was called, the one I played the most was a 5-line quarter Red Hot Blazes. That was a good one. There was also 5-line quarter free games, triple double diamond free games. That was good. They had a couple of double diamonds there that were in dollars that I played. Let's see, what else did I play? I did play a little bit of Wheel of Fortune. That's kind of where I lost most of it. I played the other ones, built up a little bit, and then I lost it on Wheel of Fortune because I wanted to play them. But that's those. The problem with cruise ships is you have no idea what to expect, right? They are not your typical casinos. They shuffle out games constantly, and a lot of them have the video style machines. So if you're looking for classic 3 reels, unless it's an older ship, you're probably not going to find it. So it's very difficult. Even the ship that we went on, it's been 6 months since we were on it. They may not have those machines on there anymore. I don't know. You know, they rotate them out a lot. But my advice on a cruise ship is please understand that the payback percentages are usually pretty low on a cruise ship. Can you still win in the short term? Absolutely, you can. Otherwise, nobody would be in there, right? But just be aware of that and try not to spend all your time. You're on a cruise, right? Just try to stay out of the casino as much as you possibly can. It's good for a night, you know, have some fun, do some bankroll building, stuff like that. But it's not something to just sink all your time into because the payback percentages are pretty rough. I just put it that way. All right. Jim says, I've asked a lot of attendants which machines have been paying out most, never get an answer. They're not allowed to. In fact, they can get in some serious trouble if they tell you or suggest a certain machine to play. Yeah, that's a no-no. They're not allowed to do that because you can imagine why, right? Like they say, oh man, that machine over there has been paying out jackpots all day long. You better go play it. Imagine if you go there and you lose your house. They're going to get in serious trouble, right? It just cascades from there. So you got to be careful with that. All right. All right, still looking for questions, guys. Hang in there. Now's a good time to remember or remind everybody that this show is every live show that we're doing in the month of November. We are sponsoring a charity, and the charity that we have selected is from To the Stars, who is here in the chat. His name is Will, and this is a wonderful charity. It's for children. We got to protect our children. They're our future, right? So the childrensarmy.org. So 100% of any donations, any super chats, any ad revenue, anything that comes through any of our lives in the month of November will be donated to Will's charity at thechildrensarmy.org. And he's in the chat here. If you have any questions for him, he'd be happy to answer. So thank you so much, everybody who has donated. Really appreciate it. We are already up to little over $500 for this month, which is incredible. Incredible. We've only done one live show. How cool is that? You guys are amazing. All right. And Titus Mom says, I appreciate you doing these videos on top of your job. Yeah, it's tough, right? It's hard to keep up. You and Dave do a great job entertaining and informing us. Maybe next Vegas trip you can check out the Summerlin Red Rock area. Well, we did go to Red Rocks once. We do have a video of that when we basically rented a car and we went all outside of the Vegas Strip and checked out some of the, kind of local, in quotes, locals casinos. I know Red Rocks is more of a resort, but we had a good time. We enjoyed that resort. We weren't there very long, but we loved it. It was very cool inside. All right. Yeah, Kestrel's right. Yeah, it was Harmony of the Seas. That's right. That definitely was it. So F1 is November 23rd through 24th. All right, so yeah, we're we're there during that time. Ouch. Dave, what were we thinking? Yikes. That's all right. We'll get most of it done on Thursday and Friday. All right, let's see. Roger Ankrum has a very good question. When playing double diamond 3-coin options, does the spin result change with each coin? I always beat myself up when I play one coin and get a big line hit. No, it doesn't on that game. If a lot of people say this too on like 5-line games where they see, they're betting 1 credit for just the single line, but then they see 3 doubles on line 5 and they're like, I probably wouldn't have gotten it. You would have if you were betting that line. There's only machines that are coming out now. There's a few exceptions to that, like the new double top dollars, the new pinball double golds, the new 9-line double diamond. Those games actually do change what they show you based on the amount of lines that you're betting and credits that you're betting. But that's a very select few. Less than 5% of the physical real machines out there right now do that. It's probably going to change. They're going to start doing that more because they can do teasing and all kinds of crazy stuff to try to get you to bet more, right? But those older school slots like single pay line double diamond, yeah, if you would have bet, let's say you got 3 double diamonds, if you would have bet the 3 and hit it at the exact same moment, you would have had the 3 double diamonds. So let's see. We get this question a lot, but I think it's good to cover it again, just real quick. Do bubble craps machines use an RNG or control the dice? Often seems like the number distribution doesn't mirror real craps. It has to, okay? And here's the rule. This is a law, by the way. So the law is that anytime you have a virtual table game, so this could be craps, roulette, blackjack, video poker, probably think baccarat, whatever. I'm thinking of some other ones. The random aspect that is occurring on the table game, such as the ball going around the roulette wheel, or the dice being thrown by a player, or the cards being shuffled and dealt by the blackjack dealer, that has to be truly random. It cannot be weighted in any way by the RNG. So, for example, let's say you've been winning a ton of money on roulette, and because you keep hitting your numbers, it can't say, let's change the weight a little bit so it doesn't hit his number on the next one because we've been paying him too much. That is not allowed. It's not legal. But There is a return to player percentage setting on the virtual table games. Okay, the way they do that though is not by controlling or manipulating the dice, in your case with bubble craps, but what you are allowed to get paid on certain plays. I'm not a craps player, everybody knows that. Dave could tell you all day long. But there are certain things that they have probably taken away from you, or they have changed what it actually pays you. The example I use a lot on roulette is that there are some virtual table game roulette games out there that only pay 32 to 1 on straight up, right? That is reduced from what you would get from the table game counterpart, right? That's how they are working the payback percentage. Blackjack, video blackjack is also a prime example of this. I've seen some so bad that you can't even split, you can't even double down, no surrender, nothing like that. Those games, if they remove all of those features, you're basically reducing the player edge, right? And so that's what's actually going on there. But no, that the process of the dice being thrown or whatever cannot be manipulated by an RNG. It cannot be weighted, if that makes sense. All right. Got some great questions in here. Guys, if you're new here, we really would love a subscription. Check out all of our other videos. We've got some great ones in there, lots of education. For everybody that is new here, what we try to do is different from a lot of the slots channels that you've probably watched before. We're here to try to educate you about how all of this stuff works. Slot machines, gambling rules, gambling compliance, manufacturers, the whole process, because we've worked with people on the inside, and myself as also as a slot technician, I know this stuff, and we want to tell you how it all works so that you make good decisions when you are putting your money on the line, right? Why would you play a game of chance if you didn't understand how it was working, right? That's our feeling. And so that's why we say gamble smart, because we want you to have the education, understand how the stuff works, and then you can focus on the things that you actually have control over, which is your budgets, taking breaks, making sessions, doing all of these things that the casinos are not going to do for you. They're not going to handhold you and say, now Mark, you've been sitting at that top dollar game for too long, it's time for you to leave, you got to go take a break. Casinos will not do that. They want you to stay there. If they could strap you to the chair, they would do that, right? So we're here to try to help you with controlling your budget, picking the right games, knowing how to budget, bankroll build, things like that. That's what we focus on. Lots of video content about that, so we would love a subscription, thumbs up, you know the drill, right? All right, bankroll management. That's right, Jackpot Warrior. All right, let me get some other ones in here. Let's see what else we got. Okay, so this one's a loaded question, but it's very good. Fred Poppet says, have you got more chance to win the grand if your bet is higher? Actually, yes, depending on the game that you're playing. This is very common with a lot of the games out right now, like the Lightning Links, Dragon Links, Huff and Puff, Eureka Blast, all of those games. And this is how you can tell if this is the case or not. If you change your denomination on the game, or you change your credit bet, and the grand and the major numbers do not change, if they stay constant, then the following is true. The higher you bet, the more likely you are to hit the grand or the major. And the reason for that is because your bet, total bet size, denomination times your credit bet, is closer to those numbers. Okay, so that means that you've basically shrunken the gap, so you have more chance to get those numbers. Is it a dramatically better chance? No. You should never raise your bet trying to chase the grand or the major. Okay, just be happy if that ends up happening, because it's going to take a lot more to win those, and so you got to be very, very aware of that. So if that is true, where the denomination you change, you go through and change it from 1 cent to 2 cent to 5 cent to 10 cent, and then you 200 credits, 300 credits, 400, 500 credits, and you don't see those numbers change, then what I just said is true. If those numbers do change, then that is not true. Okay, that's the way you can tell. Good question. All right, let's see what else we got. You guys have had some wonderful questions tonight. Really do appreciate it. Miss my buddy Dave, but we'll be back next week for sure. Indie Styles, question, Mark, is the math different between manufacturers? If yes, is it a better to play games from one manufacturer versus another? Example, Light & Wonder versus IGT. The math is different, but it's because it's tied to the game theme and the volatility that they have chosen for that game. Okay, so it's not that one is better than the other, because most manufacturers provide kind of a range of games that are in low volatility, high volatility, and everything in between, right? And they do this because there are different types of players, right? There are people that don't like not getting bonus rounds and not getting, line pays and stuff like that in the chance of getting something huge. So that's not a play style that some people like. It is a play style people like, but a lot of people don't. They'd rather just have some consistent wins with giving up those potential big progressives and big bonus rounds, right? They just want to have longer play time. That's the lower volatility. So manufacturers really try to build game themes that fit that mold. Now, some are better than others. Aristocrat really doesn't have a whole lot of low volatility games to choose from. They kind of start in the middle and then it goes extremely high, like with, Buffalo Ascension, things like that. But other game manufacturers like Light & Wonder, IGT, two perfect examples, they have everything from low to high and everything in between, like I said. So it's remember that volatility, and I said this in the member show, volatility is not, it has nothing to do with bet size. It has nothing to do with denomination or anything like that. Where it is, it makes no difference. Volatility is built into the game theme itself. So Huff and Puff has a certain volatility index. Double Diamond has a certain volatility index, okay? Diamond Queen has a certain volatility index, which just happens to be really high. There is a number. Unfortunately, we don't know those numbers. They are on the par sheets, which are like the mathematical explanations to the probabilities of the machine itself. There is a number that each manufacturer uses and computes, but we don't know that, unfortunately. We have to use other ways to figure out the volatility, like watching other people play. It's a good way to do it, right? See how long it takes to get the bonus rounds. See how many crappy bonus rounds they get before they get a big one. Those types of things. You can learn a lot by watching people in a long session, unedited, play those games, and you'll see what to expect, right, in volatility. And then you pick which is best for you. A lot of people hit us up in the comments saying, "Oh, you guys are why are you so anti high volatility? I've won thousands off a high volatility game." You can win a lot of money. We've played them before, right? We play them when we're up from our bankroll building and we want to push our risk a little bit. And we've won a lot of money on high volatility games. Absolutely. You can. But you need to understand what that means. Like, you need to understand that it will require a larger bankroll if you want to sit down and just chug it out to try to get that big win, right? It's for some people, but it's not for others. Good question, though. All right. All right, let's see. Is my mic not working anymore? It looks good here. Let's see what you guys are saying. Harley Shih Tzu says, "Hi Mark. If I get the wheel spin on Wheel of Fortune, is it predetermined when it's going to stop before I hit the spin button?" Nope. You're in control, but not predictably, right? So the RNG will pick the result on the wheel wedge the moment you hit the spin button or push the button on the touch screen. That is when it decides when the RNG is going to stop and what you're going to get picked. Everything's working. Mike, okay. Okay. Lil Joe says Mike. You guys are trolling me now. All right. Blah Las Vegas says, Dragon Link and all this clones, would you rather bet max on Penny for $5? We get this question every single live stream. I love it. It's a very common question, and it's a good question too. And my answer is always going to be the same. As long as you are covering all of the features of the game, then choose the higher denomination and lower credit bet. Okay, you may have a slight advantage of a higher payback percentage, but it's not guaranteed, especially with how long it takes for those to be realized, right? But all things considered, it's probably the better play to do that. But you have to make sure that by going to the higher denomination and doing a lower credit bet, that you are not giving up any features of that game, because some of them lock certain features like progressives or bonus games and things like that behind a certain number of credits bet. So you need to be very aware of that, because if you are not covering all those things, you are killing your potential return on that game. So make sure you're always covering all available features on the game, and if that requires you to go down in denomination, then you should do it. But on Dragon Link, it doesn't matter what you're betting, so a very good question. All right, let's see. Tex Bino says, how many grands have you hit on your home slot? So I had Huffin More Puff here for 6 to 7 months, and I only hit the grand once. It was actually right before I sold it. So it took a long time. I certainly was not playing as much as people playing in the casino, but the odds are pretty, and I always played on max bet, always. I always did the max number of credits, max number of dollars. So it's really hard to get the grand. So when you see those people that are betting like 80 cents and get the grand, they don't know how lucky they were. They were very lucky to get the grand. It's a hard one to hit. Mike Rogers has a good question here too. So no such thing as random number. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they're called pseudo-random, right? PRNGs. And because I'm a software developer too, so we speak this language. But you can get it very close. Like, the only true randomness is like what happens in nature, right? Static electricity or something like that. Like there's things that happen in nature that are unpredictable, and that is true randomness. But a computer can only be as random as somebody who programmed it to be random, right? But what they do is they basically use a starting seed value. And what that is it has to start at some point, at some number. And then each manufacturer has a different algorithm for how the RNG plays out, right? We will never know what it actually is, what the algorithm is, but it's tested, right, to ensure as random as possible. But that starting seed value is not a specific number every time. They pull from different things within the cabinet itself to get this value. For example, they may pull serial numbers off of components inside of the cabinet. It could be certain voltage numbers. It could be the time of day. It could be things that they pull these different values in and then run it through the algorithm to create this seed value, which is where it starts. I know we're talking real geeky here, but the thing is that they made this mistake early on where they had the same seed value every time the machine was turned on. And it was exploited back in the late 90s. And so they had to go back and rethink this so that they can make it very, very unpredictable, as close to true random as it can possibly get. And that's kind of what they do, these days. And to my knowledge, nobody's ever been able to exploit that since then. All right. Blala LV says, how did old school slots work? I'm talking before RNG. There was a scene in Casino where the slot manager missed a slot sheet. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember that scene very much. The odds are in the billions. The billions. Twice, 2 top line jackpots. You're either too dumb or you didn't know somebody was in on. Yeah, I remember that scene. I love that scene. So the way the old school ones work, very loosely, because I don't know a lot about the mechanics of it, but before RNG, that's why the reels had like 50 symbols on it, because it was a true randomness of the reels. Okay, and the way they controlled the weight of the results is how many symbols they had on those reels. Okay, so for example, if cherry was the low paying thing, they would have 15 cherries around that reel. And if it was, the next one up was a lemon, they used lemons and cherries and all that stuff back then, apples, whatever. I don't think there was apples, but they would only put 10 of those. And then there was only one of the bar, which usually that was the bar, the single bar was actually the top line, jackpot on those games, before they even had sevens. Did you know that, the single bar? So there would only be one of those, So it was a lot different, definitely a lot different. All right, let's see. Yeah, they are not using the same C value. That's how somebody was on a video poker machine, I believe, that they were able to start to see patterns, because if you have the initial and you knew the initial seed value, in theory, you could figure out at certain times of the day or certain periods what the potential outcome could be. It's very dangerous. So they've definitely changed that. It's crazy now. It's definitely crazy. It's okay if you've, I know it's been asked 10 times. Guys, like, I get emails from people that say, I don't know how you stay so patient and answer the same damn questions every single week. It's okay. Like, two reasons. One, we have a lot of new people in here, okay? And everybody deserves to get their question answered. There's only one of me tonight, so it's hard to get through everybody. And we're certainly not going to. But the second thing is repetition is good. Like, that's how you learn and remember things. So if you've heard me once, and think about the rumor. Every time you've heard a rumor or a myth, how many times you've heard it, and then you start to think, well, that's got to be true because I've heard it from many people. That's why we kind of want to repeat ourselves, right? We want to get the right information out. So sometimes that. All right, down to your question though. Is the results of the Big Six wheel are random, or is it controlled by a certain way? So that's just like the virtual table games we mentioned earlier, the video craps or bubble craps, video roulette, things like that. No, it cannot be weighted in any way either. That has to be a true random spin. Very good question. Yeah, that's right, Matt. That's correct. He was an employee of the manufacturer. Yeah, I think it was an IGT employee. Isn't that the way it always is? It's just, people get greedy and then it just causes a radar, right? And Bob Nolan says, thanks for your tips on Top Dollar. Well, we play a lot of it. Played 4 years, didn't know the guidance on the bonus or in the rules. In fact, never read the rules on a slot until I found you and Dave. Thanks for the help. Yeah, in a game where you have a choice, you really should, drive into this to understand, like, what. I see so many people playing Top Dollar and they're like, wow, that's a great offer, and they take it. I'm like, no, that was a try again, easily, They're killing themselves on the RTP by not taking the advice, right? So, all right, let's see what else we got. Sorry, guys, just watching through here. Yeah, JP, he's our resident expert here. He's a great guy. Mechanical and electrical mechanical slots. These are the ones that were pre-RNG state. Use real positions to determine wins, making them as susceptible to cheating. Casino replaced the guts with digital systems like those by Summit in the 1970s. Wow, that's great. Yeah, good information there. RNG certainly did cut down on a lot of that, a lot of cheating. Blah LV in Class 2 games. I know I've answered a lot of your questions, so you're asking some good ones tonight. In Class 2 games, even if it's very minor, does it matter? It doesn't matter when you play Class 2. There's a payback percentage that has to be played out over a certain period of time, just like with Class 3 machines. They set the payback percentage on the bingo machine. It divvies out the cards, the patterns, the balls, everything like that. It doesn't make any difference how many people are actually playing. I mean, in theory, maybe it's more likely to get some of the top prizes with the least amount of people, but it's like, I just don't, I don't believe it. I don't think that's true. from what I've heard from industry people telling me about Class 2 gaming, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't matter what time of day. All right. And to piggyback off the Dragon Link question, is it also better to go up denom because those have higher RTP? You guys got to remember one thing about increased RTP settings, okay? And we did a video on this. If you're really interested, I don't know, Proud Monkey or Susan, if you guys would be gracious enough to find the video where I did an example of RTP settings and played a bunch of games. That's a good video to watch to kind of make you guys understand the short-term impact of RTP settings. And the answer is that in the short term, especially with the minor percentage difference that you would find on a single Dragon Link game between like pennies up to 10 cents, which is usually the range, you're going to find very, very small. I mean, it's such a small difference, number one, but number two, you're not going to notice it in any kind of short term. And to not tease the entire video that I did, but I took a machine, I think it was double diamond, yeah, it was double diamond 5-line, and I ran through 200 spins, each on different payback percentage settings on the machine. One from a very low, I think 83% it was, all the way up to a very high 98%. And you're going to be really shocked at the results after 200 spins. It's not what you think. It's really not what you think. So to answer your question, it's a long-term thing. Like if you are comfortable playing at, let's say, the 10 cents, then just stay at the 10 cents. And over time, you might see a difference. But in any kind of short term, you're not going to see a difference. And you would never be able to detect it either. I mean, I've seen some YouTubers out there saying that, well, what you need to do is kind of just bounce around to each of the denominations until you find one that seems to be paying and stay there, because that is the winning payback percentage. That's false. That's dangerous. That's dangerous thinking to do that, because it's too small of a sample size to come to that determination. You would have to play that game for a significant amount of time, hundreds of thousands of spins, before you would see or detect any kind of difference in payback return. So always play with what you're comfortable with playing, and don't get caught up in the return to player percentage, because it's all theoretical and it's all off of a very long-term session, if that makes sense. All right, I'll answer one more question. This is a good one from Gail, and then I've got to get off of here. I can't breathe anymore. What is an advantage player, and what does it refer to when you say a persistence game? So an advantage player is somebody who has spotted certain game themes, and they do exist. There are advantage played games out there where it's one of two things: persistence gaming, and then must hit by or must win by progressives. Let's start with those. So there is an advantage. There is a magic number. I don't know what it is, otherwise I'd tell you. These people have figured it out that are true advantage players. Well, I'm not one of them. That there's a number in a must hit by progressive where it is advantageous. It could be positive expected value if you play it at a certain point. Like for example, I'm just saying, and I don't know what the number is, if it's 9,800 out of 10,000 on the must win by, okay? There could be a positive expected value that if you play it at that point, you will typically end up with more than what you put into it, right? Typically, on average. So those are pretty easy to spot as advantage players. But the second one is persistent games. Scarab's one of these. I've seen, there's a Wheel of Fortune out there that's like this, where you see a counter in the bottom right corner that says playing game 1 of 10 or 5 of 10 or whatever the case is. And the way these play is that basically they are collecting certain spots, certain squares on the machine for that 10th spin where everything turns to wilds, right? And so it would be advantageous if you found one of those games where it is at the tail end of the 10 spin cycle, like 8 or 9, that somebody just abandoned. Because in 2 spins or 1 spin, you're going to get a bunch of wilds and kind of increasing your chances a little bit of getting a decent hit, right? So that's what persistent gaming is. It's not a big thing, right? I would say less than 5% of the games out there have this. But if you do see that counter in the bottom right corner where it says 1 of 10, I think all of them that I've ever seen have been in spin cycles, and you see it higher, go in there and give it a couple spins and then get out, right? All right, so another RPV, I can't find it. Okay, let me look for it real quick. You guys should really go watch this after this video. I'm serious. This will enlighten. I really wish more people would watch this because it's going to change the way you look at slot machines. It really will. All right, let me go find it real quick. It wasn't that long ago, so yeah, here it is. Okay, I'm going to post it in the chat for you guys. Please, 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 please go watch it. And Buffalo Ascension is an advantage slot if all three if you find all three of them up, yeah, that's a good time to play it. The middle one, be careful because that one's very, very hard to hit, right? But if all three of them are high, that's a good time to jump in on that one. No guarantees. Remember, you still have to have the bankroll to withstand it. But it's better to play it at that point than if they were all flat, if that makes sense. That's what an advantage play is. All right, there's the video, guys. All right, thank you so much. Missed my buddy Dave, but I think I handled it all right today. We will see you guys next week. We're going to have a lot of stuff from Vegas. So make sure you're subscribed and ring that bell for notifications because we will be going live certainly while we're there, and we want you to join in on the fun as always. And remember, guys, gamble smart, gamble safe. If you're heading out to the casino this weekend, try to watch some of our tips so you can kind of get some idea on bankroll building, bankroll management, when to walk away, take those breaks, sessions, all this kind of fun stuff that nobody talks about, and when to quit. That's also important, right? All right, guys, thank you so much. Really do appreciate it from Dave and I and everybody here at the Gamble Smart crew. We wish you a wonderful evening. And like I always say, gamble smart, gamble safe. See you guys. Bye-bye.